Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer, living on a prayer.
Wake up, Lynn. You doing it to Bon Jovi again?
Oh, no, I was dreaming about Aaron Judge again. Good morning, everybody out there. Welcome to this week's broadcast of the Upper Deck by Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Lynn. My partner, Chris Northrop, is away for the week, and joining me is the top gun of Pinstripe Chronicles, Bobby Tats. How's it going, Tats?
Everything is going really well. All my technology decided that it's Sunday, so it's going to be lazy. So it's just like the Yankee front office. It takes their time on getting anything accomplished.
Yes, and speaking of, as true as all of that is, Tats, there was a little action this week, finally.
Yes.
And some good news on the Rizzo front. So he's locked in and ready for the next 2 years. What'd you think about that offer and the deal made?
No, I think bringing Rizzo back was the first step in the right direction. I like the contract. I think it's fair to him. It's very team friendly at the same time. So it gives them room to make other moves.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to shore up first base because we do not have first base depth. We cannot rely on just having DJ locked into one position because with DJ's health becoming a factor now, we need him to be able to kind of take a sidestep as an everyday player and being a fill-in guy so other guys can get days off.
Right. And speaking of DJ, there's a lot of talk going around the Twitter hood about his toe injury and the need for surgery. And I'm reading that start to finish, it would be 4 to 5 months without DJ. And that's all incumbent on the recovery time from the surgery itself and then the amount of PT needed. So that's just an estimate at best. And what is he waiting for, do you think?
I'm not sure. I think when it comes to him, it gets very tricky because we know that it's not something that's a career debilitating issue, but at
Right.
the same time, he's got to make sure that he's ready for the start of the season. So maybe that he's not getting a clear answer of a window for recovery. That could be the factor also.
Well, and I don't know if this was more Twitter court of opinion or based on fact, but the biggest worry was not so much DJ defensively as it was DJ at the plate with the toe. That's his forward foot, I believe, and not getting the strength and the leverage for the big swings.
Yeah,
Is
no,
that right?
yeah, it's you need you need to be able to keep your feet planted. That's and when you have one of your you can't brace yourself at the plate. Yeah, it's a problem. So DJ, it's going to be the Yankees have a lot to decide about what they want to do with him and how they want to handle this. Because if they're going to need to do something, they got to do it now. They cannot
Right.
wait. Now's the time to start getting that ball rolling. So you're not looking at spring training going, when's he coming back?
That's right. And even if this 4 to 5 month margin is anywhere near accurate, we're already into spring training. And so, right? I mean, pitchers and catchers is mid-February, bad at
Mm-hmm.
math, but we're into spring training if all things go well, if not even opening day. So, um and I think it's good that we have the luxury at the moment, and we'll get to like what's a luxury in the infield and what's it is what it is, but at least we could afford to sit him. um and he, obviously he could be anywhere in the infield when needed.
Yeah, DJ's going to be going back to that. I think he's going to end up being that true to the utility role. I think that's where he's going to fit in, and I think that works better for the both sides. Works better for him because he can give his body a little bit of rest now and then, and it gives the Yankees the option of still being able to give trust into the youth that they're going to be able to start filling in some spots. And when they need a day just to kind of take a step back, you have somebody like DJ on the infield that you can plug at third, second, and first. So I think that's very important.
Right. And I think it's going to be needed because Rizzo, we know, has chronic back injuries. So while it's excellent that we have him back, um, there's some, you know, some likelihood that he's going to need to be spelled um, a bit here and there.
Yeah. Well, we actually have your co-host Chris thinks that he's going to be going to third base. That's a very strong possibility. I don't think third base is without him being. They can have him as a full time spot, but do you it makes you one that would all hinge on the fact that they could either move Donaldson and just buy him out, just let him go, take the loss, and what they do with IKF that he just signed a 1 year deal.
Right. And hey, Chris, good to see you in the comment box. There's some people out there that are convinced that Donaldson's not going away. That Hal being Hal, he's not going to want to eat any money that he absolutely doesn't have to eat. Um, the IKF thing is no surprise, but a head against the monitor for sure. Um, but what does that mean then for Volpe and Peraza, um, and Cabrera? And by the way, there's whispers of trading Glaber. And again, I just want to say a lot of what we're saying today is fodder. But we're here to address what we're seeing on Twitter. So that
Yep.
was a lot, Bobby. Have at it.
So yeah, there's been a lot that we really can break down. That's when you're getting a lot of you're talking about the rumor mills all over Twitter is what you're expressing, right?
Right.
So the problem with the rumor mills is the fact that you don't know where they're getting their information from because some of them are from like guys like Julian. He's got a lot of insight. Pete Simonetti, he's got a lot of insight. So you could take what they're saying and go, okay, that might become something formidable. That might be solid. And not to obviously I wouldn't want to insult them, but it's also at the same time it's most of the people like how I am until something comes out as New York Yankees release a statement, or MLB release a statement, or Aaron Judge, or insert player releases a statement. It's just something to keep the conversation going. And what I do like about it, when you get it keeps the especially in the height of the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
NHL, the the NBA, it still keeps baseball in the conversations at the bars. Guys, poker night. They're still discussing. So, oh, did you hear they offered them? Blah blah blah. So it keeps the conversation going and keeps baseball on everybody's mind. Where in the past it used to be after the World Series to spring training, baseball was almost like it never existed.
Right.
So you can enjoy just don't buy into it completely.
That's right.
Really be careful of where you're hearing your information from. Because some of them, like I said, with Julian, Pete Simonetti, and a lot of others, that it's something where where you be like, like I said, this might turn into something. It's just be careful of who you're listening to, also, because some of them you will get.
Right. Always.
Yeah.
And another Chris joined. I think I know which Chris this is. Hey, Chris. He says hi to you and me, Bobby. Thanks for being with us. Um, so 100%. It's good to keep baseball relevant while in hibernation. Some teams are more in hibernation than others. Hal, but it is good to keep it up there because absolutely that's where the focus is. I know what I'm watching on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays. So um, and also you know this, Bobby, because you have two female members of your team, and you're the leader of all the podcasts, one of which is women only hosted, and women are in the conversation and becoming more and more knowledgeable. So, um, and I'm seeing that among my female friends, and so I think baseball is really growing in a knowledge base, and it's always been fierce in Yankee fandom, but I think it's going to get fiercer and fiercer. Um, Now, the one thing we know for sure, and it does boggle the mind, and I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Yeah.
KF. Um, why? Why?
Why? Why? It's a it's a cheap option for a, and let's use him for what he really is. He's a he's a bench player that can be very aggressive on the bases. Um, he's going to be he's a very patient batter. I think that's something that really went undervalued.
Okay.
Okay, there were a few times that he got those big hits to keep rallies going. They were they far and few between to really take the pressure off of him with his defense. No,
Right.
but if you don't need to put all the pressure on him at defense and you're using him, like you would say LeMahieu gets third base, then IKF becomes your utility infielder on that side of the field between third and short.
Right.
If he's the everyday third baseman, which is where he should have been from the beginning, because that's where he won his Gold Glove, is now use him as your third baseman, and you have LeMahieu as your utility infielder. So it's really going to go both ways. So, and you, especially now with the whole issue with the shift and the change with the new rules with the shift,
Right.
you're going to see offense increase dramatically, I believe. I think you're also going to, and then with the throwing over to first base, you can only throw over, you're limited on how many times you can. You're going to see a lot of these players that have the speed ability increase their stolen base attempts. So having somebody like IKF in the next year can be a positive. I
Right.
think that's where he can kind of reestablish his value to the club. But he made such a bad impression on all of us his first year. He's got a lot of work to do to redeem himself with the fan base.
Right. And what I'm saying is not against IKF per se. All the things you say are absolutely true. It was more about the other options that already exist,
Mm-hmm.
and the prospects that have been touted so far. And Chris, by the way, is saying that they could still trade IKF at some point. That they
Yep.
did the same thing with Gio and Sanchez last season. Accurate. And like you said, Tats, keep him as the backup infielder. I could live that if he's not day to day. And and I think the value you describe, Bobby, is the very reason why I was like um on the hill by myself about Brett the past 2 years, because you're describing a lot of what Gardy brought.
Yeah.
Those clutch hits, few and far between, the speed still on the bases, and decent in the outfield, and the way that he was used. I think I could accept the same from IKF if that's what actually happens.
Yeah.
So and yeah, Chris is tagging on about the DJ health question. and the no definitive timetable,
Yeah,
which we started saying at the Open. Yeah. So Buddha's going to get to do his favorite thing: play dominoes, play chess, move people around. Down to like 5 minutes before the game starts. So I
yeah,
guess that's where we're at again.
yeah. No, it's unfortunately that's how it's going to be. Does Hal know it? Does he trust himself and his team that he put together in the front office to do this one more time with the reshuffle and bringing up fresh blood? I think that's where Hal's going to really have a problem. You know, because they're so set in their ways, but at the same time, like we said on our show on the Pinstripe Chronicles on Thursday, we've never seen Hal this aggressive and a break. In his press conference when he kind of stuck his chest, when he was sticking his chest out, where I'm not going to be outbid, you know, where you're starting to see a little bit of his father come out this offseason because of all the fan frustration.
Yeah, and it's good to know that we're getting to him enough for him to, even if he was pretending. So speaking of that, um, first of all, how do we not mention that Judge got MVP for the AL Thursday evening? That they, and thank God for it, because then the Twitter explosion that we would have had would have been fun, but and would have been maybe fun to put Twitter offline for a minute. But luckily, he got what he deserved. Um, per Julian Guarte, sources are starting to say that the offer may have been around 337 million. Obviously, not grounded in fact or confirmed anywhere. Um, if that were to be the case, Tats, is that a sound offer?
I
Obviously, not sure to
absolutely
jump at it, but is that a sound offer?
the the offer can go one of two ways. It could just be another, misplaced rumor of information, misplaced information. All right. And I referenced him earlier. Julian's he's very good at what he does. He's very careful of what he puts out. So I would say that there is a merit to what he's saying and what he put out there. And at the same time, what we don't know is the years attached to that money.
Right.
Because I said on our show, and I've said it a lot, is my contract to Judge would be 8 years, 320. That would be my cap. I wouldn't go over that. I would give milestone incentives. You know, obviously the captain's title. He, might need to be put on him right away to entice him away from other offers. But you know, the Yankees, they wait so long to bring their prospects up that by the time they reach free agency, they're already in their 30s.
Right.
So if they're not going to be treated fairly and given an opportunity, and the Yankees screwed up this whole thing from the get go. They should have locked up. They should have put out his arbitration after his rookie year. They had plenty of time to just say, you know what, let's just get this done. They waited until the witching hour, and then they made the mistake of publicly announcing what they offered him, trying to embarrass him into signing. You know, and I don't think that the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees undervalued Judge. I think they shortchanged themselves because they're losing. They're going to lose out on all that marketing when he goes, if he goes somewhere else. Because I still do think he stays with the Yankees.
That is my fervent hope, and right, what you said about what they lose beyond the player himself, and Chris and I spoke about that last week at length as well. The seat the butts in the seats will shift, and as well as, yeah, all those marketing campaigns and ways with the Judge in his uniform, and that's free money. And
Mm-hmm.
so And you would suppose that that Hal loves him some free money. So I think if he wants to put a damper on the fan base before the season even starts, he's worried. He should worry about an empty stadium on opening day if Judge isn't with us anymore. Um, so Chris is asking, Chats. I don't think they go more than 8 years for him. The big question will be, will another team go and take steps to retool? Get him, let him go. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm mixing. Steve popped in too, so I mixed the two.
That's okay.
Chris's big question is, will another team go 9 or 10 for him? Let's start with that, and we'll go to Steve's question.
I think they will try, and that's where I think if the Yankees stay firm and saying, "Look, it's 8 years, 320," but we'll give incentives for all your milestones. You'll be able to be one of the, because players move around so much now. He'll be able to have that advantage where not many players are going to be able to say they were a lifelong Yankee. That's just the way it is. That's the way baseball is going. You're going to finish your career with 3-4 teams over a 10, 15-year period if you last that long.
Right.
So it's going. The amount of players that are going to be lifelong on any team is going to be so rare that I think that is going to become a factor if they have Hall of Fame careers. I think that one team, one player for one team, will be a factor in the voting. In another 20 years or so.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Really good point. So Steve's sticking with the speculation that I put out, and just a reminder that it is unverified. But Steve Schumann says if the offer is accurate, the Yankees should not move from it. If 337 million is not enough for Aaron Judge, I think it's time for us to let him go and take steps to retool.
I'm with Steve on this one. And Steve, how's everything going? Thanks for joining us. And it's 337. That's a good offer. I'm sorry. If that's not enough, then there's seriously something wrong with the market. It's how much is when is enough with given these exuberant contracts? So that's where it's like, they got to start getting their head out of their ass and start bringing these salaries down a little bit. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with players like Judge and an Ohtani, Trout, when you get those big names, you think of all the players that are on these rosters. If you're able to contain 10 of the best into having those mega deals, then they earn that. I really think they do. But now you just have to make sure to avoid having the B plus players think that they're the A plus players.
Right.
So I think the players, they really need to scale back on how much they're spending, because the teams are not spending, and then these players, and eventually the mid-level players are going to bid themselves out of a job. So when you see a number like 337, I think if Judge thinks that that's not enough, then there's a problem.
And our own Chris Northrup says that she has no doubt another team will offer more years. And then the other Chris, it's the Chris and Chris show, which we love hearing from you. Chris says if a team goes more years money, we'll find out how much it means to him, meaning Judge, to be a Yankee, getting named captain, and retiring a Yankee. I would agree that it would show like money wins over heart, which was something I was hoping Hart would come into the matter for Judge. Who does he want to enter Coopertown? Coopertown. There you go. Lynn needs some caffeine. Does he want to enter Cooperstown as a Yankee? Or will he have to make a choice like Moose did? Um, we're going to have to move on to a plan B. Chris agrees with Steve on that. And then we have FG joining us. The Yankees are trying to make Judge the highest paid player in baseball. 337 million isn't enough. Then he doesn't want to be a Yankee anymore. Yeah, so I think we got majority on here.
Yeah, but here's the secret question. Okay, what are the years? That's what when we were talking about it earlier. That was the big question. We don't know. Is this 337 over 5 years? Is it over 8 years? Is it over 10 years? Is it a 15-year contract? We don't know. So that's why I had mentioned not to discredit the report that's coming out because he happens to be somebody I enjoy his takes on. With Julian
Right.
is where we first saw it, and it was okay. But what's left of it? Like, where's the rest of what the deal entails?
Right.
All we're seeing is the totality of the money.
Right.
But we're not seeing what all the is it 320 with $17 million worth of incentives like I would hope, like I would want to do.
Right.
So there's still so many nooks and crannies to that number that have not been said publicly yet.
Right.
So I think we as fans we need to say, okay, here's how I take it. The Yankees and Judge's team are talking numbers. It's not like they're waiting. So they're willing to get the ball going with, all right, this is what we're gonna offer you. So as a fan, I'm going, okay, they're not waiting. They want to get this in motion as fast as possible. So that's how I'm taking it.
That was a good sign, and that's something to hold on to.
That's all it is. It's okay. Right. The communication is there. They're talking.
Right.
Right.
It's and I don't remember if it was Hal or Cashman said that Judge had reached out to him directly or vice versa. So and that was something Chris and I were wondering about last week. Like, did Judge take a page from Jeter and like bypass the agents and the bargaining table and reach out directly? And per the front office, that has happened. And then we saw that a deal was offered soon thereafter that. So, that's why I was dreaming about living on a prayer. But this was a step in the right direction, and hopefully we're more than halfway there. And I guess I'm giving everyone the Bon Jovi earworm for the day, but is that really a bad thing? So I want to quickly move to the outfield Tats, because there's hanging pieces there too. Are they bringing Bader back? Are they bringing Benintendi back? What are they going to do with Cabrera, who deserves to be on the field no matter what?
So the outfield, depending on, here's where it's going to become a domino effect. You're going to have to deal with now. I actually what I wanted to start the season with, that I would feel very comfortable with how they could be utilized in a lineup on top of their defensibility. Okay. I think the very good outfield would be Benintendi, Bader, and Judge from left to right. Okay. Now, as much as I really enjoyed watching Cabrera play left field, and he did it very well, I want him more in the infield. I want him to be, on maybe second base. They're going to find it shortstop because we don't know what's going on. So, but with Benintendi, Bader, and Judge, just think of your batting order, where you can have Bader Bader 9, Benny 1, and then Judge 2. Now think of the speed on the bases, especially with the new rules, able to have Judge hitting behind those two guys.
Right.
So I think that they can really, that's going to be a very big factor into how they construct the roster.
Yeah, 100%. So again, games of chess. The whole field is a game of chess, and we'll see that with the lineups every game as well. And Chris, Hey, thanks for letting me know. I was under a rock apparently.
Yeah, no,
Um,
Bader is still in the contract.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I just have my mind in everything that's wide open. But we also have Hicks. Are we if we're wondering if they'll buy out Donaldson, or what are they going to do about Hicks, who still has a lot of money left to be paid? And so there's all these open ends. We're worried about Hal's wallet perpetually, and some of the things that we'd like to see will be incumbent on whether he's going to say, okay, take goodbye, and we'll honor the contract, but see ya. That's a lot to be looking at and wondering about, and we love to speculate. So um, yeah, I think I see that we're running out of time, and so we're up against time. I do want to make sure I get the trivia question of the weekend, which Spencer has become our resident trivia person, which I love, because usually on Saturday just starting to think about it. So thanks, Spencer. And here it is, everybody. After winning the 1985 MVP, Don Mattingly seemed to be on his way to earning a second straight MVP with 31 home runs, 113 RBI, and a 352 batting average. It was to no avail, as the 1986 MVP was awarded to this future Yankee. So I will put that on Twitter as well, so that you can mull it over. Please feel free to answer below the tweet when we send it. And Tats, any last words, thoughts, suggestions?
I want to get to some of our friends in the chat section real quick. Chris the Flash, how's everything going? Good morning. Make sure you check out Chris's channel as well. Fellow YouTuber and very good Yankee friend. Steve brings up the fact that he gets the 337 is 8 years at the most. That's still 42 per year. Judge would be at 39 at the end of that deal. If Judge wants 9, fine. I'm dividing it by 9. It's 37 million a year. I think that's going to be. I don't think that's ridiculous, but I wouldn't go much higher than that. I think that's really stretching that money out. Chris would rather Cabrera as the super utility guy. That is an excellent idea. I actually do like that. FJE, Sonny Benintendi won't be so easy because he will have several suitors. He's not going to be cheap. But you also, where the Yankees have the advantage, is we do have Cabrera. We can use him in left field if we need to. So I think that gives the Yankees that flexibility where they can be aggressive, but they don't have to overpay or oversell their franchise at all. He thinks the answer is Roger Clemens.
Perhaps.
And then, of course, your co-host and our good friend Chris. Great show. Thank you, Chris. And enjoy your little weekend getaway that you're on. I'm very jealous of your scenery. So, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting. I think it's going to be. There's going to be those lulls in the off season like we usually have. All right. So here's my final thought on it. When the lightning strikes and everything starts to come off the table and all the signings are coming out rapidly, I think any fan of any MLB team is going to enjoy how the movement goes. They're going to. It's just going to be really exciting, and then we're going to go back into that lull. It's going to be the ebbs and flows of every off season. But as far as when specifically with Yankee fans, just brace yourself because it's going to be wild. I think that this is going to be one of those off seasons like we've never seen before because of everything that's on the table, everything that's at risk, and our future. We say this every year. Our future depends on this off season. Well, this one does. This one really does hold true to that. With Judge on the market, a lot of terrible players that need to be off the team with Hicks and Donaldson as the prime examples.
Yes.
How are we going to fix our bullpen with Chapman and Britton now off the books?
Didn't even get there.
There's so much to discuss, and there's so many issues that need to be addressed. So much youth ready to come and take the reins. Let's see how they can figure this out.
Yeah, and thanks for giving the headline for next week's show, Tats, because we do have to break down the starting rotation and the bullpen. We did it a few weeks ago, but with some time passed and some things that are or are not being communicated out, that'll definitely be a big focus for us next week. Um, so I just want to end by saying it's Thanksgiving week. On behalf of Pinstripe Chronicles, on behalf of Chris Northrup and I, here on the Upper Deck broadcast, we're so grateful for you. We're grateful for those of you that are consistently behind us, tweeting out for us, showing up live and joining the conversation with us. We couldn't do what we do without your support and involvement. And just hope that you and your loved ones and whatever Thanksgiving Day looks like or means, we just hope that you have all the blessings and good health that the season puts forward. And as always, you'll always have a seat right here on the upper deck. And go Yankees, even though we're sleeping.